Kirk was a Star Trek admiral longer than he was captain of the Enterprise. When fans think of James T. Kirk, they picture him in his gold command tunic, seated confidently in the center chair of the USS Enterprise, issuing orders with effortless charm and reckless bravery. The image of Captain Kirk has become one of the most enduring symbols in Star Trek history, a man of action, wit, and instinct who defined what it meant to lead in the final frontier. But here's the twist that might surprise many fans. In terms of in-universe time, Kirk actually spent more years as an admiral than he ever did commanding the Enterprise. It's an ironic truth for a man who famously hated bureaucracy, preferred exploration to politics, and once described being an admiral as a desk job. Yet when you chart Kirk's career across the canon timeline, the numbers reveal a different reality. The legend of Captain Kirk might dominate the screen and the franchise's legacy, but Admiral Kirk was the man Starfleet trusted for far longer, even if he never stopped trying to return to the stars. Let's break down how this happened, and what it reveals about both Kirk's character and Starfleet's complicated relationship with its most famous officer. Kirk's rise. The golden era of the Enterprise 2265 to 2270. James T. Kirk's tenure as captain of the USS Enterprise began around 2265, when he took command from Christopher Pike. For the next 5 years, the period chronicled in Star Trek, the original series, and its animated continuation, Kirk became a living legend. Under his leadership, the Enterprise explored uncharted regions of space, made first contact with countless civilizations, and faced down galactic threats that would have crippled lesser crews. From the perspective of Starfleet history, Kirk's 5-year mission was a masterpiece of command. He balanced the sometimes conflicting ideals of exploration, diplomacy, and defense, often at great personal cost. His friendship with Spock and McCoy grounded him, while his tactical brilliance saved the Federation more times than anyone could count. By the end of his mission in 2270, Kirk had achieved near mythic status. But that success came at a price. His relentless pace and disregard for Starfleet protocol made him as dangerous as he was effective. Starfleet Command, ever wary of Mavericks, decided that such brilliance might be better used at a desk, guiding others rather than continuing to defy orders from the captain's chair. The admiral years begin 2270 to 2285. After the conclusion of his 5-year mission, Kirk accepted a promotion to Rear Admiral. This was likely meant to honor his achievements and secure his cooperation within the organization. For Starfleet, it was a political win, keeping Kirk close while reducing his risk factor in the field. But for Kirk himself, it was a slow suffocation. As he admitted years later in Star Trek, the motion picture 2273, he felt trapped. "I'm not a desk jockey." The Admiralty might have offered him power, but it stripped him of the one thing that defined his existence, the command of a starship. During this period, Kirk served as Chief of Starfleet Operations, an enormously influential role that oversaw fleet logistics, exploration strategy, and interstellar policy. In practical terms, Kirk had more responsibility than ever before. Yet he hated it. In the motion picture, he made it clear that his time away from the stars had dulled him, emotionally and spiritually. When VGR threatened Earth, Kirk seized the opportunity to retake the Enterprise, even pulling rank to temporarily demote Captain Will Decker. His instincts proved right, and his leadership saved humanity once again. But after that mission, Starfleet once again returned him to administrative duty. Still, those early 2270s and 2280s years meant that Kirk spent over a decade as an admiral, longer than the entire original 5-year mission. Kirk's return to command, but never permanently 2285 to 2293. By Star Trek II, The Wrath of Khan set in 2285, Kirk was still officially an admiral, teaching cadets at Starfleet Academy. The desk job had become permanent, and though he occasionally took the Enterprise out for training cruises, he remained a flag officer. When Khan Noonien Singh resurfaced, Kirk was once again forced into command, this time unofficially. "The Kobayashi Maru scenario is a test of character," Spock told him. "How we deal with death is at least as important as how we deal with life." For Kirk, that statement became prophetic. His actions in Wrath of Khan, the search for Spock, and the voyage home defined the rest of his life. But even when he commanded the Enterprise again, it was as a fugitive or as a special case, not as a reinstated captain. In the search for Spock 2285, Kirk defied orders, stole the Enterprise, and sacrificed it to save his friend. His court-martial in the voyage home 2286 resulted in a demotion back to captain, a punishment that he welcomed. "This is what you've always wanted," Spock said, and he was right. So from 2286 to 2293, roughly 7 years, Kirk was once again captain of the Enterprise A. It was a poetic return, allowing him to end his career doing what he loved most. But those final years were only a fraction of the time he had spent in Admiralty. By the numbers, the math behind the myth, let's do a rough tally of Kirk's career timeline. Captain of the USS Enterprise and CC 1701, 2265 to 2275 years. Admiral Chief of Starfleet Operations, 2270 to 2286, 16 years. Captain of the USS Enterprise A, 2286 to 2293, 7 years. Total admiral years, 16. Total captain years, 12. Even if we account for the occasional temporary command during his admiral period like during the motion picture, Kirk still spent more total time as an admiral than as a captain. Yet here's the kicker. Despite his long admiralty, Kirk's cultural image never changed. In every generation of Star Trek storytelling, Captain Kirk remains the symbol of leadership. His time as admiral is treated as a detour, a bureaucratic mistake the universe kept trying to correct. The psychology of Kirk's promotion. Why did Kirk accept promotion in the first place? It wasn't greed or ambition, it was duty. Starfleet likely pressured him into it, dangling prestige and the illusion of greater influence. After all, who better to shape the fleet's future than its most decorated officer? But Kirk's internal conflict reflected a recurring Star Trek theme, the tension between exploration and institution. Kirk embodied the spirit of adventure that Starfleet was founded on, yet the organization itself often constrained him. The Admiralty was the Federation's way of taming its most unpredictable captain. Still, Kirk's unease as an admiral wasn't about defying authority, it was about identity. He once told Picard in Star Trek, "Generations, greater than don't let them do anything that takes you off the bridge of that ship, because while you're there, you can make a difference." That line perfectly sums up his philosophy. For Kirk, the Admiralty represented distance from purpose, power without presence. He could sign orders, but he couldn't feel the stars. The irony of legacy. Kirk's story ends tragically poetic. After the events of the Undiscovered Country 2293, he was due for retirement, but fate had other plans. In Generations 2294, he died saving the galaxy, again, this time alongside Captain Picard. His last words, "It was fun," were the essence of his character, a man who lived for the thrill of discovery and danger. Even so, the Federation's historical record would list him as both admiral and captain. Future generations, from Spock to Janeway to Burnham, would reference Captain Kirk as the standard of excellence, even though, chronologically, Admiral Kirk's service was far longer. It's a narrative quirk that mirrors real life. We remember heroes at their peak, not in their paperwork years. Just as athletes are remembered for their greatest games, not their time as coaches or executives, Kirk's legacy will always belong to that 5-year mission and the bridge of the Enterprise. What it says about Starfleet. The fact that Starfleet kept Kirk in high,